What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking, as we do every single Sunday, about the box office. What movies dropped, how did they perform, what limited released films did well at the box office, and of course, we're going to keep you updated on the Joker, because this movie keeps trucking, and it is getting closer and closer to $1 billion. But first, let's talk about the new limited released films that dropped this weekend. And first off, we're talking Honey Boy, one of my most anticipated movies of the last couple of months that only dropped in 4 theaters, but it brings in $72K per theater at $288,000 in 4 theaters. That's a bigger average per theater than Jojo Rabbit, than 8th Grade last year. It's pretty good, right? And when this movie expands, I don't expect it to do bonkers at the box office, but for its budget, it could do well. And once again, it just looks really good. If you're a Shia LaBeouf fan, I'd say you're looking forward to this. Next up, I do want to talk about Parasite really quick because we haven't really hit on it in these box office updates, just because it is just now expanding to more theaters than it was in. I love the movie, one of my favorites of the year. It's currently in 603 theaters as of this weekend. Now, you see the number, $2.53 million this weekend in the United States, with an $11.3 million 31-day domestic accumulation. Now, that may not look like a lot, right? But if we look at the foreign films hitting the U.S. box office this year, and just the fact that it's doing so well overseas, about to earn, already earned $100 million worldwide, and will be passing the domestic gross of The Farewell, or at least it's projected to. That made $17 million to become the year's biggest foreign language release. It's pretty good. For a film that is not just pretty good, for a film that is fantastic, but the fact that people are hearing this word of mouth and at least giving it a chance. I know a lot of people, personally, that will not go see a subbed movie in the theater. I kind of understand that, but let me convince you to go see Parasite. It is, in fact, one of the best movies of the year. My review is on this channel. It's just that good. Jojo Rabbit, which actually added 546 more theaters this weekend, made about $3.9 million this weekend in just 802 theaters, $4,000 per theater. Those numbers are not great. Right, Jojo Rabbit is a very small film. I didn't expect it to make a ton of money, and it's doing fairly well overall, $9 million total, I guess, but $4,000 per theater is not what that film is wanting to see. I can assure you that. Just to update you on some movies that did not crack the top 5, Harriet earned another $7.23 million this weekend for a 38% drop. That's really fantastic. The Addams Family still trucking. Now, it did drop 55% this weekend, but still $3.71 million more to give you $91 million domestically overall. Maleficent, still talking about it, only dropped 38%, which is a pretty good drop, but still $8 million more to add to its $97.3 million total. A bit of a disappointment. Yeah, we are still talking about the Joker. Granted, it did not make the top 5 this weekend, but with so many new releases and the fact that Terminator is only in its second weekend, that was expected, but it still only dropped 32% and almost beat Terminator in its second weekend. Joker is in its 6th weekend. Joaquin Phoenix's film has made $313 million worldwide in 36 days. The movie had a 6th weekend gross right in the middle of Avengers Endgame with $8 million and Avengers Infinity War with $10.5 million. Granted, those movies earned a lot more money to start with, but still, to hold in that category is fantastic. If it keeps holding like this, no doubt it's going to beat Gemini Man, Maleficent, again, Terminator Dark Fate, and Dr. Sleep in future weekends at the box office, and these films just released. This domestic final gross is getting closer to $340 million than $325 million, which is what people were projecting just a week and a half ago. My goodness, it will pass Thor Ragnarok, and it's just doing incredible overseas. So the worldwide total right now, we're keeping track of this on this channel, $984 million worldwide, and it's about 1 week away, which is what we're going to be reporting on next weekend from topping the $1 billion mark. And get this, topping The Dark Knight, which made $1.004 billion 11 years ago. Even with inflation, even with the fact that, you know, of course ticket prices are more expensive now, but I give you numbers on this channel, and the box office numbers tell me that Joker is going to pass The Dark Knight. Whoa. From number 1 last weekend to number 5 this weekend is Terminator Dark Fate. Oh man, didn't do very well, all right? It had a 63% drop, just made $10.8 million this weekend, $48 million total, and it lost to our number 4 movie, which we're going to talk about, and I never in a million years projected it to lose to that film. Even in its second weekend, Terminator Dark Fate was supposed to be this big, giant blockbuster, but like we talked about last weekend, just the saturation of so many Terminator sequels that have been extremely mediocre. Not a lot of anticipation for this movie. The trailers didn't really sell a lot of people, and the fact that it's divisive, all of those things are adding into the fact that it's bombing at the box office. Not doing very well. Now, it's made almost $200 million at the worldwide box office, so that's great, right? No, not necessarily, because its budget was almost that. You add in marketing costs, you add in the take for the theater, and you get a bomb at the box office, and I have a feeling we won't be seeing more Terminators, at least for a while, until they inevitably reboot the franchise like they do consistently in Hollywood. Next up, coming in its first weekend with $11 million is Last Christmas. And you know, while that's not all that great for a Paul Feig-directed movie with some big-name actors in it, I do believe they're playing the long game. I talked about in my review how they released it in early November, and it's just like, why are they doing that? But they're playing the long game. They really are. They're expecting this to just stick around, people to find it as we get closer to Christmas, and as soon as we're stuffing our faces with turkey on Thanksgiving, it's going to be time to see some Christmas movies. And what movie is still in theaters at that point? They're hoping, at least. That's Last Christmas. I see what they're doing. We'll see if it pays off. Next up is Playing with Fire, the brand new John Cena flick that's very much appealing towards children. And here's what I'll say about this one. I expected it to make less. So, in my eyes, $12.8 million is great. I don't know if it's all that great for what they were anticipating, but it's more than I thought it would bring in. And next up, with an estimated $14.1 million coming in at number 2 this weekend, is Dr. Sleep, the brand new Warner Brothers film that, frankly, just did not hit with audiences near as much as they were anticipating. And I know that they were wanting more than this. I believe original estimates were around $25 to $30 million. Then we heard they were lowering to 20. Coming in behind Midway, barely beating Playing with Fire and Last Christmas. The fact that it's a sequel to The Shining, granted, came out a while ago, and obviously modern audiences aren't as hyped as I was. I was very excited for this movie. In my eyes, it paid off. I really enjoyed the film, but my goodness, that to me is a massive disappointing opening weekend. This film did not hit like I anticipated it to. I thought for sure it would come in at number 1. That's kind of telling me that maybe 40 years later almost was a little bit too late for this sequel. They just did not know how to market this movie according to audiences because they didn't show up, and that's not good. But oh hey, look at number 1 this weekend. It's Midway, coming in with $17.5 million on its opening weekend. No one expected this to be number 1, mostly because they didn't expect Dr. Sleep to perform as it did. So Midway had a pretty good opening weekend, right? Right? Well, let's look at the budget for Midway. Oh my goodness, the budget was $100 million for this movie. I guess I could tell while watching the film, but they didn't do a great job with it. Regardless, Midway, you've got a big task to accomplish. You have a lot of trucking to do in the future. Let's hope more people show up. Now, the cinema score was really good. Audiences are obviously responding. Critics, not so much. But I do think this movie will continue to make a decent amount of money. When you look at what I think a lot of people were anticipating, the numbers will look okay, but you have to compare it to its budget, man. And the fact that it has a lot of money to still make just to break even. And then it starts making money after its marketing, after its budget, after the take for the theaters. A lot of work to do for a movie and really a slate of movies at the box office this weekend. This was a historically bad weekend. If you're comparing it to last year, this same exact weekend, we saw The Grinch, which opened with $67.5 million and went on to earn a ton of money. This weekend is normally doing pretty well for the industry. But November 8th through 10th in 2019 just did not show up to play. Next weekend will be a bit better. We have Charlie's Angels, we have Ford v Ferrari. There's not going to be a juggernaut until we get Frozen 2 coming in and just most likely blowing everyone away. But hey, we're still looking at the Joker's progress Addams Family's kind of still trucking. It's interesting to see what Parasite is doing overseas. We had some good things this weekend at the box office, but then we had some really bad things that will possibly get better over the next couple of weeks. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'm a bit more crunched for time this weekend than I normally am due to some family things that I have to go take care of after this, but next weekend I will start my predictions portion for the box office breakdown video that I'm going to do every single weekend on Sunday. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a thumbs up. It tells me that you want more things like this. And last weekend, you left some awesome comments telling me I need to do predictions. If there's anything you all want me to change or do differently or focus on, I appreciate all of those things in the comments below. You're truly the best. Thank you for watching tonight. Watchmen and Rick and Morty, get ready.